Welcome to Sports Talk with Steve Jones, the daily talk show with the voice of Penn State football and men's basketball. You never know what special guest may stop on by any given day. Now here's the man of the hour, Mr. Steve Jones.
Blocking me out. What are you doing? What's going on? You're blocking me out. What's happening? Come on. Okay, all I know is like that what you have always has been your motto, right? That you live by is "Et tu le brute." I'll go over and sit in my chair. All right. Thought we'd have a little fun to start the show today. Why not? Because guess what?
It's the holidays. You got to have fun.
Everybody should be having fun in some form or another. Have some laughs. Do something, okay?
Yes, agreed.
All right? Just have fun. Enjoy the people you're around. I'll endure this guy for an hour. But, I mean, enjoy the people you're around, right? So what does the P stand for? Phenomenal?
They weren't phenomenal in the NLCS, right. But other than that, they were phenomenal in the
putrid?
playoffs. Yeah, putrid and misery. Pure misery.
Oh, my goodness. All right. So, let's get to this day in sports. Oh, my goodness. Jack sent me something that was funny. Tomorrow's Peach Bowl Media Day. Are you attending?
I will be here. You know what? I think I'll be here. So I will probably not be in attendance.
What? Come on. Jeez. You got to be where the action's happening.
I know.
What's going on? I mean, come on.
They're going to hold that against me when it comes time next year. Hey, did you attend Peach Bowl Media Day?
Oh, no, because I'm going to bring it up. The transfer portal is wide open. Some interesting developments, or the lack thereof, in Nebraska, because a signing day is next Wednesday. And evidently Nebraska feels they're going to sign a high-profile quarterback. And Kyle McCord may not figure in their plans. Okay. It is, everybody wants instant gratification out of this. Oh, the portal's been open now for 10 days. Like, just settle down. You're allowed to put your name into the portal from December 4th to January 3rd. Okay? 30-day window. All right? After that, you can decide any time you want. You could decide in May if you want to. You can decide in February. You can decide tomorrow.
All right.
Okay? So that's and everybody wants it, like, okay, Penn State needs wide receivers. Got to get them now. Just let it just play out. And this is something that I think people hate when I talk about patience. But that's the only thing you can have. And now we have this. Ooh, I'm sorry to see this. George McGinnis died.
Oh, man.
73 years old. I'll get to that in a moment. Okay. But let's talk about this in the portal. And this really, I mean, young people can make any decision they want. But this one bugged me when I saw it. Malik Murphy, Texas backup quarterback. Now, do I blame him for going into the portal? No. Okay, I understand. he's decided to put his name into the portal. So if something were to happen to Quinn Ewers in their matchup with Washington, and if they win it, their matchup against either Michigan or Alabama, Arch Manning would be the quarterback, and Arch Manning played in one game this year. Murphy's the guy that filled in and won a couple of games for them, and to his credit, played well. Murphy told ESPN, quote, I hate it. I'm super invested in this team. You are? Or are you super invested in yourself? You're super invested in this team, but I'm going to leave now.
Absolutely.
Right? If you are in the playoff, you get an additional 5 days to put your name into the portal. You don't have to abide by January 3rd. You get till January 8th if you're in the playoff. I'm super invested in this team. Everything that we've done along the way and all the work we're putting together, it's hard to walk away, especially at this point during the season. He's walking away from a playoff game? No, is he going to be highly sought after? Yes. He's a redshirt freshman. He'd be eligible right away. He's got 3 seasons of eligibility remaining. And he started a pair of home games. They beat BYU and Kansas State with him at quarterback. And guess what? He did well. He threw for a total of 477 yards in those 2 games and threw 3 touchdowns. I mean, look, he's a good-looking player. Murphy said that given the time it'll take for visits and to assure he finds the right spot for his future, it's best for him to leave now because he wants to make his visits. Like, guess what? The world will wait for you. It's all right. I don't get it.
I don't either.
He said the Texas coach Steve Sarkisian gave him the option to stay and that he's appreciative of that. In other words, Sarkisian was going to say, you want to transfer, fine, but you can stay with the team. In other words, some programs have an unwritten rule that if you put your name in the portal, you're out. Michigan State was like that. Harlan Barnett, anybody who put their name in the portal at Michigan State automatically was off the team. That's why as the season went, their roster got whittled down because he would not let them stay. So that's an example of that, and several schools have that. Steve Sarkisian said, hey, look, you can stay. He added, he says, really, I appreciate Coach because of how accepting and helping he's been along the way as a player here. He's been super helpful. It'll definitely take me a long way. I'm glad I was able to be coached by him. That's fine. So the decision of the league came down to doing what's best for my future. Okay, I understand that he wants to do what's best for his future. But this is where old-fashioned me comes into play here. And you know I'm very adaptable to the new way of doing things. I'm adaptable to NIL. I'm adaptable to the transfer portal, everything like that. But there's still something to me about commitment, the team, and loyalty. I've always said on a personal level, and this is something my parents drummed into me over and over again. Same thing with my brother. I feel like, at least in my lifetime, my career, 2 things I don't have to apologize for is I don't have to apologize for my work ethic, and I don't have to apologize for loyalty. It doesn't mean along the way that I can't do what's best for me, because I've got a lot, there are people that count on what you do. But when I've had opportunities to leave, and there have been a few, I was doing fine here. And I was doing well here. And I was doing exactly what I wanted and working for exactly the people I wanted to work for. I had the privilege of working with Joe Paterno. I had the privilege of working with Tom Bradley. I had the privilege of working with Bill O'Brien. I currently have the privilege of working with a guy I think is a great coach in James Franklin. But better guy. Great coach, better guy, James Franklin. Basketball, it's 8 basketball coaches. Dick Harder, Bruce Parkhill, Jerry Dunn, Ed DeChellis, Pat Chambers, Jim Ferry, Micah Shrewsbury. And now, of course, working with Mike is tremendous. And Mike's going to do great things here before it's all said and done. Mike can flat out coach. But I've had the privilege of working with all those people and all the athletes. And it's been easy for me to be loyal. Because loyalty is a two-way street. Mm-hmm. And then I see something like this. You're playing in a national championship semifinal. By playing in the game, you get more time to put your name into the portal. Yeah. You can commit anywhere you want, anytime. Okay? Anytime you can commit anywhere you want. And he's leaving. Now, he may not play, say he stayed, may not play a second. But Colt McCoy got hurt in the national championship game when Mark Ingram and Alabama beat Texas for the title. And they had to go with Garrett Gilbert at quarterback. So it's not unprecedented that somebody gets hurt, including a quarterback, in the national championship game or in the semifinal. And he's leaving. Now, what does this mean moving forward with the 12-team playoff? Now, he's not going to the NFL draft. He's not eligible yet. But the idea, and I was talking with Gary Stoken, the president and CEO of the Peach Bowl, the other day. He says, Steve, I can't wait to meet Theo Johnson. He says, he's going to the draft and he's going to play in the game. He says, that's my kind of guy.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Absolutely.
I have no problem with Chop Robinson going to the draft.
No.
Right? And right, that's his decision. I got it. Okay? Penn State's playing in the Peach Bowl on New Year's 6. But playing in a playoff game is a different ball game to me. Yeah. And, he put out on his Instagram, was it Instagram or Twitter, I don't know, X, whatever, it may have been Instagram, that I'll be a Longhorn for life. No, you won't. You're not going to be a Longhorn for life. What? Really? You'll be a Longhorn for life. No, you're not. Then there's yours. He hasn't made his decision yet on returning to Texas.
Yep.
Now, the prevailing thought within the inner circle of Texas is he will play next year in Austin. All right? And Austin doesn't have a pro football team. Oh, that can be argued. Okay. He says, Murphy said, I want to be in a position where I can play. That I totally get. I don't want to be waiting around and seeing what happens or anything like that. I'd rather kickstart my career while I can. You have kickstart your career. The 2 games you played against BYU and Kansas State, in which you played well, and he did play well,
sure.
He's laid down enough tape where by saying I want to put my name into the portal, he should have taken, in my opinion, Steve Sarkisian's offer to remain with the team. To me, his value would have gone way up.
Yeah.
Way up.
I agree.
I'd be like sitting there like, you know what? They still needed him. He still stuck around. He played. I'm like, okay. There is a freshman recruit, a senior in high school now, who's a quarterback, who verbally committed to one school, verbally committed to another school, and now is about to change before signing date to a third school. What are his odds of being in the transfer portal down the road?
Mm-hmm.
If you had to assign odds, what do you think? And I'm not saying the young man's name, right?
Yeah,
because Penn State was not
huge.
involved with him. Not involved with him, but I can't talk about any recruit until they sign. And I'll talk about this next week. I always talk about the good stuff when you're not around.
That's right.
No. But he committed to one school in the Big Ten. He committed to an SEC school after that, and now he's about to commit to another Big Ten school. What are his odds that he ends up in the portal?
Yep.
He's done all
Pretty
this
darn
in
good.
about 14 months.
14 months, yeah.
And then I see this. Your team is playing for the national championship. Your coach gave you the option of putting your name into the portal and staying, and you still left?
Still left.
I'm sorry. I can't take this guy.
No, and that's exactly
I can't
right.
recruit this guy.
No, and that's...
Now, a lot of people aren't going to have that kind of like, I need a quarterback, I got to have him. All right, okay, I got it. Okay, I couldn't do it. Even if he could help my program, I couldn't do it.
No. And it's like the person that is literally in a job interview. Oh, why'd you leave your other job? Oh, the going got tough, so I got going. Literally, and went.
Well,
and then that's that's you have to explain yourself to other teams to how are you loyal, and how do you explain being loyal when you're not with your team when they're playing for a national championship? You can't.
And I can understand the depth chart part.
Fully
that
can.
part I got it.
But wait till January 9th.
Quinn Ewers is the starter.
That's fine.
Okay? Arch Manning is there. I got it. But Steve Sarkisian gave him the option of going portal but staying.
Yeah.
And he'd rather go on official visits. You have to be kidding me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry.
Agreed.
That's that. I'm off. I have no problem with players moving. Okay, that's their choice, what they want to do. But like, I see something like this that bothers me. It bothers me. It's all about the individual. It's not about the team.
Completely. Yeah. There's no question.
You got to be kidding me. Like, Chop Robinson should be going to the NFL draft, right? He's going to be a first-round pick. Good. Yeah, Joey Porter just missed the first round by one pick last year. All right, I got it.
Playing like a first rounder right now.
He is playing like a first-rounder. But I see this. If Sarkisian had told him no option, see, the part about the fact that Coach Sarkisian gave him the option of staying with the team, that's where now it took me from, all right, to, you have to be kidding me. You're still leaving? And that's the part that I sit back, and I know he's not the starter, but that's the part that bothers me. He said Texas coach Steve Sarkisian gave him the option to stay, and he's appreciative of that. Now, I don't know. I see stuff like this, and this is one of those that bothers me, and it would really... I'm not a coach. If I were a coach, Penn State would be 0-12. Okay?
Same here.
If I were a coach, they never would have won a game. All right? But if I'm sitting in a recruiting room, I can't take this guy.
No, absolutely not.
I mean, he may be the next Joe Burrow for all I know. I can't take him. The fans say, you've got to take him. No, I can't take him. I can't take somebody like you finally get to the, like, you're how many feet away from the summit? Nah, I'm going to go back to base camp. Maybe you got to go back to base camp. What are you doing?
Yep.
You can't do that, but you can, and he did. but he'd rather take official visits and be wined and dined than be the backup. And it's not like the backup. Yeah. Okay?
Yeah.
Last I checked, Washington's got a pretty good pass rush. Quinn Ewers has already been out this year.
Yep.
That one bothered me.
Well, it should. And then that's, you're playing for a national championship. It basically is, hey, you're absolutely right. And I add to it, it's all about the individual. And I add to that part, it's all about the individual. And I feel like I'm not sure he cares if he wins.
Exactly.
You're going into the national title game, literally. It's your opportunity. And, yeah, to walk away, I don't get it. And then that's the kind of thing where you have to explain that. You're going on your official visit. Try explaining that. Try explaining, okay, I'm just going to give up on...
But you know what? He's not going to be asked to explain it.
No, he shouldn't, because it's a team's going to need him and want him.
People are sitting there, we got to have Murphy. We got to have him. It's not even going to be brought up.
No.
Right? The key will be looking at who doesn't recruit him.
Right.
Who have already made the decision, like, we can't take a guy like that. And he may be the greatest guy on the planet, but
it's still
actions speak louder than words.
Absolutely.
Right? What happens next year? Going gets tough, you'll transfer again?
Uh-huh.
Because you notice what the NCAA did. The NCAA, I think they're ruling on about second transfers and sitting out. The court said, no, they can play right away. Oh. There's no sitting out. Okay. Interesting. George McGinnis played with the Sixers. Passed away at the age of 73. Two-time ABA champion with the Indiana Pacers. Won no titles with the Sixers because the Sixers don't win titles.
Haven't since 83.
Long time.
Been a while.
He had cardiac arrest that he suffered last week at his home. He had struggled to walk in recent years after undergoing multiple back surgeries because of a hereditary condition. People in Indiana loved him. Indianapolis prep star, great player with the Pacers. Helped them win 2 titles with Mel Daniels, Roger Brown, Rick Mount. Simon family and Pacers sports. There's no comment from the Sixers because I didn't know he played for them. Just kidding. So George McGinnis shaped so many of the fondest basketball memories for a generation of Hoosiers, the Simon family said. Very definition of an Indiana basketball legend. He was a high-flying, like maybe not quite Julius Erving, but darn good basketball player. A passionate advocate for his fellow ABA players and a present smiling face around the franchise. You know what's interesting about if you talk to ABA players, WHA players, USFL players, and AFL players, American Football League, their loyalty to the league, if we were to get Joe Namath on the show, I'd love to get Joe Namath on the show.
Sure.
If we were to get Joe Namath on the show and I brought up the AFL, you could hear him wax poetic about it. They were loyal to the league.
Absolutely.
WHA, I covered a couple of WHA games. Loyal to the league because it gave them opportunities. ABA, same thing. All the ABA guys, Julius Erving will wax poetic about what the ABA means. Okay? McGinnis took advantage of the Spencer Haywood Supreme Court victory in 71 that allowed him to classman and turn pro based on hardship. He wound up signing with the Pacers 2 years after his father had been killed when he fell off a scaffold while working as a carpenter. So, his family needed the money. Great one-handed jump shot. And Indiana won 2 titles. And then he helped the Sixers with Irving get to the NBA Finals against Bill Walton and the Blazers, where the Sixers won the first 2 games, then remembered they were the Sixers and lost the next 4.
Mm-hmm.
That's your team, isn't it?
They remember they were the Sixers in 2001. One game won, and lost the next four. I lost the next four.
Just bad.
That was great.
Here in multiple
All-ABA
and All-NBA honors, was named the 73 ABA playoff MVP in his second pro season. After making the ABA's All-Rookie team in 71-72. Took All-NBA honors in 75-76. 75, he won the ABA scoring title, 29.8 points a game. Second in steals, third in assists, fifth in rebounds, 14 boards a game. Shared the award with Julius Erving, his future teammate with Philadelphia. And he didn't win a third title, all right? But the ABA was struggling financially, and the Sixers still held his contractual rights 2 years after drafting him in 73. He was advised to pursue more money in the NBA. McGinnis wanted to negotiate with a team of his choosing and initially signed a 6-year deal with the New York Knicks. Larry O'Brien voided the deal, punished the Knicks. So then he accepted a 6-year, $3.2 million deal with the Sixers that included a no-cut, no-trade, no-option clause. 3 seasons with the Sixers helped them end a 4-year playoff drought. Home attendance increased more than 5,000 a game. Now remember, this is, what was it, the 71-72 team,
yeah.
won 9 games?
Mm-hmm.
There was nowhere to go but up.
They were bad.
Got to the finals.
Much better in the early late 90s.
Last of Bill Walton, Dave Twardzik, Lionel Hollins, Maurice Lucas, and who was the other starter? Was it Jeff Petrie, the other starter for the Portland Trail Blazers? Yeah. Twardzik, Lucas, Walton, Lionel Hollins. Who's the 5th starter for the Blazers? They won in 6. McGinnis, between the ABA and NBA, had 17,000 points, 11-year career. He went to the Nuggets, and then, by the way, finished out his career with the Pacers. As a sophomore at Indiana, led the Big Ten in scoring at 30 a game, rebounding at 14.5 game, third-team All-American. And he, remember, he couldn't play as a freshman because freshmen weren't allowed to compete. Washington High School in Indianapolis. Mr. Basketball and Mr. Basketball USA in 69. He's part of the Indiana Athletic Hall of Fame, one of 4 former Pacers to have his jersey retired. So when I'm always in Bank of the Month Fieldhouse, they change it all the time. I always look up and I see Mel Daniels and Roger Brown and George McGinnis. I'm trying to think who the other one that's retired for the Pacers. I know Slick Leonard, coach, is. Daniels, Brown, McGinnis. I'm trying to think who the 4th Pacer is.
That has never retired?
Yeah.
Reggie Miller has retired?
Yeah, no, but it says of. I guess that is the 4th one, is Reggie Miller. Because Brown has his retired, Daniels has his retired, McGinnis, and then, So, they're going to have a private service, a celebration of life. It's going to be held next year. Great player. George McGinnis is a great player. Like, wow. So he's only 73. Draymond Green says, I will only accept a punishment they would give to Jason Lord. So they suspended him indefinitely. The reason is because he has a history.
And as recent as a month ago.
Yeah. They're expected to meet Thursday to start discussing a path of counseling and assistance for Green to move forward. He's going to be docked $154,000 during his suspension.
Yeah, and I think it's the right suspension. I think it's basically saying, okay, we're going to lay out some groundwork where you're going to have to do this, and if you don't do it, you're not coming back. And I think that's really at this point is the way to do it. With the history that he has, I think that's absolutely one of the biggest things, and he just can't continue to do this and get away with it. And I think that's got to be the message Joe Dumars sends at this point, and the message the Warriors send at this point. I think that becomes the next question. What does Golden State do with Draymond Green? Because I'm not so sure he's going to be back with that team.
Steve Kerr says we need him.
Yeah, they're 10-13 right now. They need anything they can get.
We need him. We need Draymond. He knows that, said Steve Kerr. We've talked to him. We've got to find ways for him to keep his poise and be out there with his teammates. So he's had, along the way, 1-game suspension for the LeBron altercation, a 1-game suspension for the confrontation with Kevin Durant.
Mm-hmm.
That was conduct detrimental to the team.
Right.
March of 23 recorded a 16th technical, 1-game suspension. In the playoffs, the Sabonis altercation with the Sacramento Kings, 1-game suspension. Gobert altercation in November of this year, 5 games. And now the Nurkic altercation, which it's now indefinite.
Yeah, they're not even including, obviously, the incident in practice where he punched Jordan Poole. And that's...
Poole got in the way. I'm kidding.
Well, Poole and that now. Poole, in the defense of Draymond, Poole has not been an angel everywhere he's gone. But having said that, you don't do what Draymond did.
It's wow. This is. Oh, jeez. So, normally, like a lot of the heroes you root for are not good people. So, Montana.
Yeah, Rice. Yeah.
See, I'm glad. See, the first thing is admitting it.
Yeah. Montana and Rice. Rice is certainly not a role model. Dr. J. Oh.
Dr. J. Well, I guess that's why, like, your Dr. J's voice very deep, right? Mm-hmm. McGinnis was deeper.
Yeah.
Like wow. It's like talking to Barry White.
I'll never forget Dr. J getting flowers for somebody, and just the lady said he looked like he played basketball. Didn't know who he was. And he was just Dr. J, literally. He didn't say who he was, just said where he played, said where he went to school. Mm-hmm. That's and to me, Magic Johnson defined Julius Erving perfectly. When greatness meets class, that's Dr. J, and that was absolutely.
So Denzel Washington. Have I told you this story? Denzel Washington is here filming Unstoppable.
Mm-hmm.
Chris Pine. And he stayed at the Nittany Lion Inn. And his son Keith was a walk-on basketball player at Penn. So when Penn State opened the season with Penn that season, Denzel was at the game right behind the Penn bench here in the Jordan Center. Well, he decided one day, you're not out there filming the entire time. There's only so many times you can ride the train between Julianne and Port Matilda. Just kidding. Right? That's a good movie, but I like that movie.
Yeah, I like it.
In fact, I really like that movie. So he decided to go down. He wanted to see his son. So he goes down to a practice. And there was a guy that was a custodian at the Palestra forever by the name of Henry. Really good guy. Nice guy. I mean, you always walk by and you'd say hi to him, and he's just friendly as friendly gets. Well, one day, Denzel goes down to Philly, wants to see Keith, goes to practice, practicing down there. It's over with, and now he's leaving. And I guess the story goes, somebody's walking with him. They walk out, and Henry says hi to him. Like, hi, generic hi. Hey, how you doing? He says, great. He says, so what are you doing here? He says, well, I'm here to see my son Keith. He says, Keith? He says, yeah, Keith Washington. He's walk on the basketball team. He goes, oh. Keith Washington is so nice. A great kid. This, and I mean, and as a father, he had to feel proud listening to what he was saying to him. So they chit-chat a little bit more, and I guess the way the story goes is, he says, so where are you from? I'm from Los Angeles. He goes, oh, really? He says, why? He said, what do you do out there? Right? True story. He says, I'm an aspiring actor. Really? Wow. Okay. So they chit-chat a little more or whatever. Now it's time to go. Denzel's going to walk out of the palestra. Right? He says, hey, Henry, take care. He goes, you too. He says, hey, good luck with that acting thing. Wow. Now, everybody, now, look, he was here. He went to the game, the whole thing. I never met him. Everybody says that. Everybody says he is just a great, down-to-earth guy. That's all. I don't know what you've read or that he's a great, down-to-earth guy. Right? Imagine how it felt for him with the whole world, because they fawn over him. Like you can be a great down-to-earth guy. It doesn't mean other people around you don't sit down and go, "Oh my God, Denzel!" Right? And for him to that had to be a kick. To have somebody really not know who he is. And just talk to him as a father of a basketball player.
That's incredible.
I mean, when I first heard that story, and I heard that story a long time ago. First of all, it matched up completely with the guy I've met several times. I'm not going to sit here and say I know Henry, all right, or knew him,
right.
But I said hi to him and talked to him enough, okay, to know he's a terrific guy and how everybody there loves him. So I mean, I've talked to him. He's a terrific, terrific, down-to-earth, hard-working guy. Okay? But, not awed by anything in life. And to him, Denzel Washington was Keith Washington's dad, not Denzel Washington Academy Award winner.
That's awesome. Yeah, I never met him. I saw him speak. Never met him, but I remember him speak, and he talked about when he went to the Lakers games in the 80s, and said, I still remember going to my first game, sat in the cheap seats, and I was hooked that minute. I went and got a form for season tickets. Said, try doing that today.
Oh, I know. I know.
Not a chance.
Now he could do it today.
Oh, he could do it. There's no doubt. He could do it today, but yeah.
Well, no. Eli Gold, who broadcasts Alabama. He's done Alabama since '88. I'm so glad he was back this year. I mean, he fought through a lot to get back. But I mean, he's a legendary voice. And I talk to Eli once in a while. And one day we were just chit-chatting. It's a couple of years ago. We were just chit-chatting. And he said, deep down what my favorite sport is? I said, no. He said, Steve, I love hockey. Because Eli grew up in Brooklyn.
Yeah.
Okay? He did not grow up in the South. I mean, you hear him as the voice of NASCAR, the voice of Alabama. He did football, basketball for a long time. Basketball is the first time I met Eli. And then through football, talked to him many times over the years. But we were chit-chatting on the phone a couple of years ago, and I said, because he said, I know you're a New England guy. I said, yeah, believe me, I grew up in the Bobby Orr era. I love hockey, right? So you can't grow up when Bobby Orr played in New England and not love hockey, right? And I love hockey. And he said, Steve, he says, I used to get season tickets in the last row of Madison Square Garden to watch the Rangers. He says, the last row was the only row I could afford.
Yeah.
And I said to him, awesome. I said, Eli, I'm not so sure either you and I could afford the last row of Madison Square Garden for season tickets now. He goes, no way. He says, but back then I could do it. Back then I could do it.
Yeah.
So I'll tell you this one because for those who don't, I think people have got the hint the other night when at the end of the broadcast with Ohio State, when I said, I was doing the credits, I said, and Dick Girardi, I said, I know you'll do your brother Jack Girardi proud on Monday. Right? I said that because his brother Jack passed away, and Dick was going to deliver the eulogy. Now, I knew most of the eulogy because Dick had talked to me about what he was going to say, right? And Dick delivered it beautifully. He tells a great story. Now, Jack's the older brother. He was the oldest, okay? He sent me a text about taking the train to go to Hoboken. I said, it's fine. I'll do whatever. Another option is drive to Secaucus. Okay, great. That's all I need to do. I'll park in the NBA office.
Yeah, I was good. Yeah, Secaucus.
That's great.
Secaucus is hefty traffic.
He tells, but this is Saturday.
Oh, yeah, you're better at that.
Yeah. So,
yeah, it is Saturday at 7 p.m.
Right. So I said, he said, Jack, they grew up in Baltimore. And in Baltimore, growing up, the Colts were everything.
Right.
Okay? The Orioles were great, but the Colts
absolutely
were everything. The Colts were the first ones to win. They won in 58. They won in 59.
Yeah.
Everyone forgets that when they had the rematch with the Giants a year later after the overtime game where Alan Amici scored, the game that put the NFL on the television map, they had a rematch the next year in Baltimore, and Baltimore won convincingly. Okay? Well, that cemented them as the team in Baltimore forever. When you're ever the first one to win, okay? Like UConn's won 5 national championships in men's basketball. Women's basketball team won first. And people in that state have never forgotten because nobody in that state ever wins. Okay? They don't. I grew up in that state. Nobody ever won. Okay?
Look at Chicago. Well, the Bears are struggling, but look at Chicago and the Bulls. So
the Colts were everything. Lenny Moore, Penn State's Lenny Moore, was Jack Girardi's hero. Right? And it's interesting because Dick sent me a series of highlights of Lenny Moore when we were down in Orlando. He says, check this out. Right? It was like a 10-minute highlight reel. And I watched it. Of course, Lenny Moore was phenomenal. I was telling Dick, I said, I had to do a project at Channel 3 about the Penn State Illinois series. And I went back to 1952, 3, 4, somewhere in there. I said J.C. Caroline for Illinois and Lenny Moore at Penn State. I said Lenny wore 42. I said, and it was Lenny Moore as a running back, but Lenny Moore playing defensive back. He had an interception in the game. I said he was really good. And he said that what Jack would do, Jack Girardi, starting when he was like 20 or 21, would dress up on Sunday in a jacket and tie. And he'd go over to Memorial Stadium. And he'd walk in the Colts entrance to the offices and keep on going. Find a seat, watch the game. And he did it for years, and nobody ever stopped him because he had a jacket and tie on and he looked like he belonged. He never paid a dime to get in. Phenomenal. I know I feel like we're warping into Steve's stories here, but right,
great story though.
I mean, but for years, right? And Dick told like 4 or 5 other stories. And what it tells me is that the way Dick is today, Jack. Now, I knew Jack. So it's not like this is something that I didn't. I knew Jack Girardi. We'd go do games down at Georgia Tech. Jack would be there. There were a couple other games along the way. Jack would show up. He'd sit with us. Went to dinner with him. When Dick went into the Writers Hall of Fame in Dallas in 2014, because Jack eventually moved to Connecticut at one point, became a huge UConn fan. So Jack and I would talk about UConn basketball all the time. Well, when Dick went into the Writers Hall of Fame in 2014, Jack and I sat together at the table, and we talked for a couple of hours during this whole thing. All right. So yeah, but it was funny stories. Right? Jack kept stats on everything. But the part about the jacket and tie, walk right into the front office of the Colts. Everybody go, well, he's wearing a jacket and tie. He must be one of us. He kept on going and did it for years. Never paid. Oh, goodness gracious. Oh, God.
And Dick tried to sneak in, and the security guard got him within 5 minutes.
No. Oh, no. No, that's right. No,
yeah.
No, Dick tried to go over the fence.
Tried to go over the fence. Yep.
Dick tried to go over the fence. He said, I got halfway up. They yanked me back down. It was like,
they let him in anyways.
Right? No, he did. He tried to go over the fence. And that fence was in, center field or whatever the heck it was. They're like, okay, great. All right. He says, it didn't quite have the same cachet, right? Said, you have to have the ability to pull that stuff off. I mean, you do that all the time. Have you ever paid to go into any game? Didn't think so. I'm surprised, for example, that Metallica hasn't invited you on tour.
They should by now. I'll tell you that. Personal invite, I'll tell you. I've given them enough money over the years.
Explains why you wear the shirts you do. I'm telling you, it's becoming obvious. Why won't he wear better shirts? He spent all his money on Metallica.
That's right.
There we go. These are your people.
That's right.
These are your people. Oh, my goodness. All right. Any final thoughts?
No. I think you covered the biggest point of the day, the portal.
Well,
disappointment of it. I think that's...
It's just, it bothers me about... You're playing in the playoff game. You get an extension on the ability to enter the portal, and to me, your value goes up.
Sure.
Well, I can sit there and argue until I'm blue in the face, but...
Well, yeah, and that's...
But it's... What I think my standard is, and what a young 20-year-old standard happens to be, hey, if they're two different things, I got it. They're two different things. All right? And I'm not going to in any way, shape, or form you don't go out and you don't rip people. This one just doesn't sit right with me.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Yeah.
Well, it's a team sport, and I think that's the frustrating part of it. This doesn't seem like a team move.
Yeah. All right. Well, I've kind of felt like we started the segment on a team move.
I thought so.
Right.
I thought it showed teamwork. Darn right.
And
yeah.
You got angry, lost your temper, and I had to go back and sit over here.
All right. That's all right.
Well,
it's like when I was out of my seat in grade school, and I get yelled at all the time.
Yeah, but there were other reasons for that.
All right. No, there were plenty. There were plenty of after-school activities I had to do when I was younger.
Neil Coulong tomorrow.
All right.
And then Bob Nightingale from USA Today on the Shohei Ohtani signing and other. We'll talk about Yamamoto and others and Juan Soto. Talk about that with him tomorrow as well here on Seven Mountains Media.
Thank you for listening to Sports Talk with Steve Jones, a Seven Mountain Media production. Come back at 11 every weekday for analysis of the latest happening in the sports landscape. From college football to European soccer, Steve and Kyle cover it all on Sports Talk with Steve Jones.